Better they do that then than later.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Middle of a call, they don't walk away.
Yeah.
I apologize, it's not colored, but most of you might can follow with us. All right.
I'm ready
Well,
for the Kathy.
I'll go ahead and to get started here. I kind of had a few things I just wanted to go over. I kind of broke it down mostly to keep me on track because I could really talk for 3 hours about this, but
Let's not do that.
I'm not going to do that. I just kind of want to give a quick basic overview because of the number 3, our audit findings, and what that means moving forward for us. So the first thing I just kind of wanted to start with is that our funds. Now, the first report I have, this one here, so that's all our funds, all the different funds we have in the city. We have 163 wonderful funds in the city, and I have 8 bank accounts that I balance.
Okay.
Most of those banks are tied to one fund or 2, except Bank 1 is tied to all the funds, general funds and everything. So
What 2 banks do you use? What-
I use First Financial Bank, and I also use Old National.
Okay,
I did have money at Regions,
I remember.
but I kept having problems with
I know.
so I had to close that account. So on here, I wanted to mention a couple things. The yellow funds that you see there, those are the ones that we budget out of. So as you can see, of all the funds we have in the city, we don't really budget out of that many. You know, mostly we just maintain money in these funds. But the other ones are the ones we budget out of. And of course, across the top, in the green, you're gonna have the date span receipts. That's gonna be my current year, year to date. And then, of course, when it says over kind of in the orange or the red there, to the right where it says year-to-date receipts, that's from the beginning of the Lao financials. So that's bringing in all those numbers in the past.
I'm raising my hand with a question.
Yes,
I know, you don't have to raise your hand. The general fund,
Yes.
beginning balance, 5,120-some thousand.
yes.
How much does that fluctuate year over year? Does it, what's the lowest it gets to? What's the highest it gets to in a general sense?
Generally, it gets lowest right before we get our draw in December.
Okay.
So usually by November, early December, we're at our lowest, maybe 10 million.
Okay,
And then at our highest, when we just now put our money in, we get our spring draw, which is usually our biggest draw of the year, we might have 17.
okay. That's the fluctuation?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and we generally stay pretty good within the money we take in, that's the money we're spending. So everything else is kind of just sitting there, you know, so we do pretty good to spend what we're expecting to bring in. But I did want to kind of talk about a couple things. The difference between beginning balance, ledger balance, and cash balance, because this is something that is important to remember. Now, when we budget things out of general fund, as you can see, we start with a beginning balance of $5 million. So there generally is never a time when we're out of general funds money. But let's go down to Park and Rec, 204, where that first blue line is. You can see we start the year with $1,900 cash. Now, we've already brought in $398,000, but we've spent $426,000. So technically, we are cash short. The way we get money in Park and Rec is we get draws and we do user fees. So, right now, we're kind of short in that fund. Now, we expect another draw in the fall, and of course, we'll get more user fees. But, you know, this time of the year, you know, we might want to look at that to see what we can do.
So Kathy, on the Park and Rec in specific, because it's summer, because it's the end of the pool season, or is this at mid-year still?
This is current. This is as of,
Okay.
yes,
Okay, so we're current.
Yes.
So that, we have got a lot of expenditures that we've put out so far.
correct.
And how does that particular one end up cash-wise at the end of the year? Does it come back a little bit, or does it not?
Well, there are
'Cause
two
you still have
things.
expenditures as a result.
Correct.
But our major ones are with the pool at this time of year,
Correct.
Okay.
Our major concern always is, are we gonna get enough in that draw? Because you have the amount of money, okay, so see, we've got 1,900 we started the year with. If we set a budget, let's say of 500,000, but we only bring in 400,000, we're gonna be $100,000 cash short.
Okay.
So, it's kinda hard with the pool, you're right, because a lot of their expenses are mid-year, so it's not always easy to predict what they're gonna have kinda at the end of the year, but you can kinda historically look at where they are. We do always kinda run really tight in here.
Sure.
Because if you increase the tax rate for 204, you decrease the tax rate for 101. So there are a few funds that interact with each other. If you try to raise and put more money in there, then that just means we have to take it away from general funds, you know? Kinda like fire department. Now, fire department doesn't have any active deposits. They just have the money they get from the tax draws. So that's always one that's really very sensitive there. And of course, let's go to the next page. I kinda did a couple different variations of negative so we can kinda see how that works. At the top of that is that 289 fund, and it is the Assistance to Firefighter Grant. So what that is I've expended money already that I'm expecting to receive back from the grant from FEMA, and then that'll be zeroed out. So that's how those grant funds work. I find out what we're getting in grants, I pay the city's half, or however that works, depending on the grant agreement. I set up the fund, I pay it, when I get the reimbursement, it should be a zero balance.
How much is that grant for?
That grant is for 175,992.38.
Oh,
Exactly. So the only part that's negative is what we're expecting to receive back.
okay.
Okay. And there's a lot of funds, as you can see on here. The other thing I wanted to mention is you can see they're kind of color-coded because everything in blue is water department funds technically, not city funds. Now, city funds in that they're our entity, but they're not in my cash bank. The pink funds are cemetery funds. Now, we have like a conservatorship over those. We have to be very specific with how we spend that money. And I would also let you know the only department that has any investment, cemetery. They have a large CD that we keep at Old National Bank. All the gray funds, those are my payroll funds. So those are the money that comes in and I sweep out for different payroll-related items. You can kind of see what they are. Yes?
Pink ones, the cemetery, they have to stay. There was a clerk treasurer that thought we'd move them all, but you know, fine, you can't do that.
Yes, we have a very specific relationship. We have a conservator relationship with the cemetery funds. And, yes,
did
if you
that-
try to touch those, they will not let you.
I'm fine with that, but how did that get set up? Do you know the historical, how that got set up that way, or why it was set up that way?
Well, it's kind of all through, it's kind of by Indiana code.
Okay.
Certain funds are, we have conservatorship. So like if people bequeath money to the cemetery, they are a conservator of that money. So so if you notice, there are a couple that list
Names
people's
attached to
names.
them, yeah.
And those are donations that were made to this person on behalf to, you know, sometimes it's to take care of a mausoleum, sometimes it's just the family wanted, them to have, flowers forever. That's the 630 fund, that was to make sure that this gentleman has flowers forever. They buy flowers 4 times a year, they pay for it out of these funds. So that's kind of what those different things are.
Do they get an administrative fee for that at all?
No, not as far as I know.
Okay.
Not unless that's built into something already at the cemetery, not that I'm aware
So
of.
you don't see that through accounting?
I do not.
Okay,
I do not.
in your accounting. So if you're not seeing it in the accounting, you're not gonna get it.
Yes, I don't think, because I would see it somewhere.
Yeah, you would.
I would see it, because she runs her books through my financials in the city, so. And then, the only other one is that, on that last page, is that recycle fund. And see, I want to mention the recycle fund because they're kind of a good example here. And once again, cash shortage. So if we start at $8,000, you can see we've brought in 262,000 already this year, but we've already spent 383, which is leaving us 112 short. Now, the reason why that's very specific is we don't get tax draw money. We rely only on user fees for this. And we're not gonna have enough user fees. We're gonna be cash short in this fund at the end of the year. And we usually are, we just need to address it. We need to kind of address it before the end of the year. So does anyone have any questions about that before because like I said, I could talk for a long time, and I don't wanna bore anybody to death. But I did wanna just kinda talk about that beginning balance, ledger balance, and cash balance.
So there are some funds in here, like, the Pantheon Education and I can't read that other word. Zero-
Entrepreneur and.
Yeah, entrepreneur. It's got zero in it, zero in it, zero in it, and zero spent. Do we have other accounts that are like that? And
Yes.
would you get rid of those accounts? Do you glean those over time?
Yes.
Okay.
So later on, I want to talk about closing out funds and closing out bank accounts,
Okay.
all of which I need the council's approval to do.
Okay, yep,
So that's kind of why we're getting a good overview today, so that when I actually ask for it, you'll kind of really have a good understanding about what I'm kind of wanting.
like there's a $0 in the DARE, there's $0 in teen
Correct.
center grant
Some
expansion.
funds we could get rid of, but if they're actively being used, we don't get rid of them, but a lot of them, we are. I'm actually working on about 20 funds right now to eliminate and put back into either edit or general funds. Money that was put aside for grant that we didn't use, or we got reimbursed, we didn't use it all. So that's what that is there. And then, of course, income versus tax draw. Of course, those are the funds where we get tax money. The 101, the 201, 204, 212, 402, 412, 412 and 414, those are bond numbers. 418 is also the park bond. So, but mostly you can see it just goes into generally 101, 201, 204, 212. And then, of course, we do still get our lit distributions now, 101, 209, and 444. That's where our lit money goes. We get about $400,000 monthly, and it kind of gets split almost a third, a third, a third into those funds. Okay.
So in that lit fund, lit public safety fund, right now, it had a beginning balance, current ending balance right now, lit is, it's at 349, 331.45. So that money that's sitting there is an ending balance. What do you do with that? You will split it up in three ways? Is that what you're saying to me?
No.
Okay.
So, as you can see, when I say lit distributions 101, part of it goes into general funds, part goes in 209, which is that fund you just read.
Yep.
Part to the public safety. So about 133,000 of that 400 I get monthly goes into 209. And
Okay.
then I split it up among the others.
Okay.
And they give me that number. I don't make it up. They give me the number, the
Sure.
county does, to break it up. And of course, you know, that's the money we use that we're funding the fire department with. So you can see where the date span receipts coming in. And then, of course, expenditures, that's generally payroll side. Okay,
Are we spending every dollar that comes into our lit fund currently?
no,
How much per month are we not spending?
I'd have to be honest, I'd have to look at
I
that.
understand. Is
Yeah.
it- you say a third of it goes to general fund, would it be safe to say a third of it is not what we're spending?
No, I just meant when I get that check from the county monthly, it's for about 440,000.
Whatever, yeah.
I generally split it among those three funds, and that's about how much monthly goes into each of those funds.
Okay,
And then spent out.
Yes, and of course, we budget out of there, so
Yeah.
you can kind of see
Yeah.
what I've taken in. And I bet if you go to 444, I bet that's mostly what you're gonna see is me putting the lit money in there. Let me just kind of take a peek. Actually, more goes in, because actually, they get money, at other times also. So, there's a little bit more going into the edit than 209.
Okay.
but I could give you a breakdown.
And how much we actually spend per month, or per, how much we get versus how much we spend?
Oh, I could figure that out for you pretty easy. Yeah, I'll just run a fund report.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got those items there. Does anybody have any questions about that before we're gonna move on to the budget stuff there? So what I did here on the budget is I kinda just printed out everybody's budget, and of course, this is halfway through the year. And I kinda color-coded them again a little bit, and I did that so that it'd be easier for you to kinda see the difference in those numbers. So you see you got them 1,000 numbers up there, and then the 2,000, and then the 3,000 in the green. The reason I kinda separated those out is just so you could understand the difference in what those account numbers mean. Obviously, if it's a 1,000 number, I'm gonna say 1,000, but you can see it's got an extra digit in there. Okay. That's generally payroll, related, personnel, that sort of thing. Those 2,000 numbers, those are always gonna be your supplies. 3,000 gonna be other charges, and then capital outlays is 4,000. Now, if you wanted to move money in these blue boxes, those are the things you can move among. Remember how we always move, we're transferring money around? So if you have money and it's all within that blue box, you can move any of the money anywhere. What you can't do is take it from a 100 down to that 300. You can't
Okay.
take a payroll line and pay a service
Understood.
line. So that's kinda all I wanted to make sure. So I kinda broke everybody's down a little bit. You can see where we're at. The one thing I would mention about 101 fund, most people are paid out of 101. How we decide the difference between who is getting that money is we break it down by locations. And I've listed the locations on here. So sometimes you'll see in the, that third box at the top, the third header, LOC, location, that is gonna be your location all the way down. So anytime we're sharing funds in the city, so we share funds in 209, we share funds in edit, we share bond funds, we share general funds. If we share funds, we always designated what department's getting it by location. So that way I can see exactly how much every department is spending in each area or all over. I can see how much they got in the bonds
Okay.
so, and of course, I just kinda broke that down. I've got all the account numbers on here if you kinda wanted to go through and peek, just so that you could kinda see. I tried to add the red line across the top so that it was easy for you to see what all the different columns meant as you got down on the report. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me emails or whatever. Like I said, I don't wanna talk too long, 'cause I could, but you can see everybody's in there, all the different lines, all the different accounts. Bernie and I work on balancing these after every payroll, just in case something is mapped incorrectly, or, after we do claims as well. So, that's kinda all I really wanted to mention on the budget, just kind of a basic overview, just so that you could kinda understand that numbering system. The main reason I wanted to bring all of this up tonight is because recently at our audit, the State Board of Account has wanted me to start giving you, for instance, all the information listed here. In the past, the payroll function just kinda happened. I never brought it before the council, we never have, and said, hey, council, approve the $1 million, all this money I'm getting ready to spend. She is implying the State Board of Accounts wants to see all of that be on your dockets, at least once a month, so you're aware of what exactly is coming out.
So we're approving every dollar.
So
what
that
they're
you're
at.
approving all APVs.
Yes, so you're approving every dollar.
Because
They
it-
wanna see it in the minutes.
Correct. And a lot of those things are relationships we just maybe have with the employee. It isn't really a city function, but it's a city check. So if it's city money, it needs to have council approval.
Yep.
Now, so as you can see, we have a lot of these things we pay, so that's my list. I mean, we've got our EMPERS, that's our retirement that we pay on behalf of everybody that works. Mutual of Omaha, WageWorks, you can see all the accounts I have there. So our payroll is processed through ADP. When we process it through ADP, I have an additional sheet This is the one I use when I balance Bank Two. Bank One is our general funds, Bank Two is just payroll. I basically put in whatever I need to pay payroll, and then I sweep it back out. So generally, you'll see, say, 500,000 go in, you'll see 500,000 come out.
Is that where the bank fees come from then too?
Sometimes bank fees come from there. Sometimes during the summer months, when we're having a lot of ACHs, deposits from the pool, they will charge us processing fees. A lot of times, that's where our fees are actually coming
I
from.
saw that you had a specific line item for bank fees and then,
Yes, generally, in the off months, they don't really charge me too much, but boy, those months during the summer, I get charged.
Yeah,
And
you-
then, you know,
however many
sometimes
per
I have
year you
return
get,
check
yeah.
fees, or, if I have a wire transfer fee, that comes out of there. Most of our bonds are paid by wire transfer now. They don't want checks anymore. They take too long.
so much per person?
So this is something I created to kind of keep up with what I do in ADP. After every payroll, I import the data from ADP, I stick it into the Lao software, and I update all our financials. But then I have to go in and I have to do three things. I have to create the tax document, which is where it shows we took the money out of everybody's check, and then we disperse the city side back out. And then the same thing with payroll. I show that I took all the money in, and then I'm posting everybody's direct deposit.
So in that payroll though, of course, there's so many things that come out of payroll. It's not only, it's insurance, it's taxes, it's social security, it's all these things.
Yes.
When we're approving payroll, are we supposed to be approving every single thing that's in that payroll? Is that, or is it one general thing?
Well-
What are they asking?
I believe
Because
that,
you're writing a check to social security, you're doing all.
correct. I believe that when we're approving payroll, I believe it's approving everything associated with it.
Okay.
Because it's all, you know, percentages.
Yep.
You know, Social Security is a percentage, PERF is a percentage. So when we approve the budgets, you know, we're approving some of that, but it is good for us to have a better understanding of exactly what it is I'm sweeping in and out, because
Okay.
I do sweep, you know, it's quite a bit of money that goes in and out of that bank too.
I think we don't realize how much we pay in social security tax to
Yeah,
other
I think
employees that aren't on
you'd be
PERF.
really surprised if
that
you
are not
saw
on PERF.
some of what you're paying with these. So the first thing I wanted to talk about
And-
was all the different things that we pay by ACH. Because now I'm gonna create a new docket that'll kind of have a breakdown of all these fees monthly. And I will include it on one docket a month. So when you approve payroll, we'll be approving all the payroll, and you're gonna see all the expenses. So the dockets are really gonna look big now. But it's because we're gonna be approving also dockets from other departments. RDC claims need to come before the city council. Parks Department needs to come before the city
Not
council.
too sure that RDC shouldn't have been before city council anyway.
They can still be approved at the other meetings, but she says we need dual control through the city council. So I will just, after their meetings, I'll add them onto the council docket as well. And before I started doing all these changes, things I'd like to have done by the end of the year, I wanted to make sure you understood what I was doing before I just said, here, go ahead and approve all this. It's important that we really understand what these are, because they were asking me specific questions. Well, would the council members be able to come in and help you do this? Well, no, sorry, because they really wouldn't understand what I'm saying. It's like, as I was explaining it, I knew, she's like, well, can you, no, they really would not understand this part of it. But, you know, don't feel bad, it's complicated.
So, in how you pay stuff, yeah, how you pay stuff, it shows the ones that are issuing checks, how close are we to not issuing checks at all?
Let's see, the
'Cause
only,
you have Western Southern, but United Way donations, firefighter dues, liens.
we would like to get away from,
From checks in general.
from being in charge of other people's money as best as possible. And other people's money is Western Southern, United Way, firefighter dues, AFLAC.
Yeah.
Those aren't active policies with us. The only time we can't get rid of it is if it's a pre-tax item. If it is pre-tax, we still will keep it on payroll, because that's the only way they can
Yep.
get it pre-tax. I don't think any of those are none of those are pre-tax items. But perf, WageWorks, 457, some of those are pre-tax items. Insurance, pre-tax items. So anyway, when I process the payroll, the feed goes directly to the bank, the direct deposit amounts for all the employees, the taxes automatically get paid, and garnishments automatically get paid. And that was very important because after COVID, when we were not here to process payroll, if you do not pay your payroll tax on time, the clerk is personally liable. That was not gonna happen. Because after COVID, everything was crazy. Snail, you couldn't get the mail, everything was too slow. This guaranteed that we would never be late paying any taxes. So, I'm sorry, did anybody have any questions?
No, so I wanna go back to the Parks and RC
Sure.
claim dockets. So, before, they would just, and I know the RDC, how we would just approve it, you'd write the check and move on. Same with the parks, cemetery's not that way though, right?
Cemetery claims all run through the city already, so they're already
That's right.
on your normal
Yeah,
docket.
That's right. So, are the parks and I guess now the RDC, are they aware that when they approve it, they're just the first layer? That bill's not really approved until the council approves it.
Well, in the past, we did not do that additional dual control. So when they approved it, I paid it.
Yeah, I know.
So, no, they did not know that they should have. I did not know.
No, and I've seen it done. I sit in these damn meetings all day long, you see things done different ways. I think that RDC should be aware, the members of the board should be aware that that's what's happening now. That we
Right.
are approving this to move on to the city council. Parks should be aware that they're doing this to move on to city council to get that approved.
It is my understanding from her that we can still go ahead and pay checks after, say, a Parks Board meeting, but then they still have to come before you. Are you kind of implying that you don't want me to cut checks till it comes before the city council?
The check's already been cut. Why?
No, we don't cut the checks until after a council meeting and it's been approved.
But right now, I'm saying on the new,
How we, moving forward, how we would probably do it, thinking forward, is that they would still go through there. Generally speaking, we would still go ahead and have them ready to go, depending on, because the parks
You
only
could
meets
cut 'em.
once a month. So if you happen to be the very next week, well, then that would be good, but what if we already missed the parks meeting and I'm just a little concerned about waiting till the next council, much like we do payroll. We still process payroll even though you guys haven't really officially approved it.
Understood?
In it, we'll work this till they have eyes on it, that they see those claims, it's not necessarily.
Well, I think it is asking for their approval because you're the common council. You,
say you send a check out and we deny a claim off of there.
And the only reason I'm asking this exact question, well.
let's
then
not
it
do
wouldn't
that.
work.
Let's
Then
not
it
do
wouldn't
that.
go through.
But it
If
would
they-
already be issued and sent.
I would say you wouldn't have, you couldn't send them. And the reason I say this is because my time on PACE, we dealt with multiple funds from federal and state. And although Head Start may approve something, they had their own little policy council that would do things. In the federal audit and in the state audit that went along with different funds, if the board didn't approve it, that was wrong. That was a bad deal. You could mess up your audit in general. So everything, no matter of the delay, happened that way. Now, if you're, I understand payroll, it can't. There's no way it can't because of the meetings.
I get the difference between the dockets. I suppose what I could do is when I create the docket, because I get all the claims in advance for both departments, I get a docket. I can send that docket out to the council and just, at the same time I send it to everyone else, Parks or RDC, and just say,
I
if
never
anyone
think that
has
the
any
council wouldn't approve
issues,
something that the RDC and they've done.
Yeah.
But I think if you're talking about this level of checks,
And that's what they're asking for.
You almost
They're,
have to.
they're not asking me to just kind of stick it on there, you know. They're wanting me to kind of come up with this whole system of it all being on this docket so that you can see clearly what everyone is doing, all the claims and so forth.
We had, at Pace, and I know it's different, but it's a federal agency, for God's sakes, and state agency. They had to, even minutes of other boards that were under them, they had to approve. That was also part of some of the, you know, like the policy council, and then there was a Head Start board, and there was all these different things. The overall board had to approve that. They were in charge of the money and approve of the policies that were there. That's crazy, but I don't,
So,
what
so
did they
that,
say about minutes?
well, we already upload all minutes. They didn't say anything about the council dual controlling the minutes.
Because we approve the minutes
They
of
were
our
more
meeting. We don't
concerned with
approve Board
the,
of Works minutes.
the financial side.
Yeah.
That there was no oversight over that side. So it was more that, but I could certainly, we could check at the audit,
Just ask.
just to be sure.
Just ask.
Absolutely.
It's not like I wanna do all of this stuff.
So let's see, approval of, okay. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention, okay, the approval of that payroll clearing docket, that's the thing I'm gonna create that's gonna have all these numbers on here, okay. Off-cycle checks. Now, we're not supposed to be writing off-cycle checks. They got me for this. What off-cycle checks are checks that are written outside of a council document. Now, we don't do a whole lot of these, but we do them. Generally do them for grants. We do them if Brad needs to go put a lien on, I cut a check for that. When we pay our Visa bills, we pay it even though it probably is on your next council docket. So there are a couple things we kind of issue.
And that's because of timing with the Visa
And
bill.
it's because of timing.
That's also utilities, right?
Correct, also utilities. Now, we were reminded we're not to cut off-cycle checks. We generally don't do it, but she pulled the one, you know, they only pull 12 claims.
And they find the one.
She pulled the one claim that did not go through the council. And for the first time ever, they actually verified that everything we put on the claims docket cleared a signed claims docket voucher, which they've never done the whole time I've been here. So that was obviously, this documentation and approval was a big deal in this audit. The reason I bring that up is because we're probably gonna have to update some policies to help this. Even though I just passed that ETF policy at the beginning of the year, it does not specifically say what I needed to say to pay some of these funds. So I'll be looking at kind of tweaking that to word it in a way that it will properly let us still pay some things in advance with your approval, but they still will be on a claim docket. They won't be just left off of a claim docket, which is what happened before. I mean, it was probably 10 checks in the whole year, but
And they were left off the docket, or?
yes, well, meaning we cut a check and we didn't actually get council's approval. So like Brad needed a check for $30 to do liens. I
Oh,
just
and
cut him
that
a check
doesn't go on the
out of
docket.
his budget, cause he needed it right away.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a little thing, or grants, for instance, that's the other thing. When we were getting grants from, the bus service, we would get money, and then I'd have to cut a check within 5 business days, I have to give them
Because
their
that's the
money.
grant.
Because that's the grant. She says we're not really supposed to do that unless our policy says we can do that. Our policy doesn't really address that. Our policy was addressing me being able to pay bonds online and pay utilities online. I didn't realize I needed to address this. So I will be looking at that. as
Well, and Kathy, it could be an overall policy, but it could be, say that we do have a grant, and you come to us and say, okay, according to this policy, and then put it in the minutes. Put it in the minutes. According to this policy, I'm allowed to, on this particular item, be able to pay this. And then the board approves that, and then you have a second layer of not only the policy, but the board is then aware of it and it's in the minutes.
Because they actually read the minutes this year too.
Yeah.
They've never really done that either. And that's where they put out some capital assets out of the minutes. Not even really out of the financials, but, that means now is that, in looking at this and reviewing some of these items with the state board, there are definitely a whole lot of funds that are just sitting here doing nothing. Yet I have to balance them every year, and I've got all these bank accounts I have to balance, and guess what? They never exactly work perfectly. So the less moving parts I have, the easier it is for me to
It's
balance.
just, the less moving parts, the less risk.
Yes.
And that's what you're trying to
Yes.
reduce at all times.
I mean, we've set up a lot of these accounts with the best of purposes, but we've just kind of left them sitting there. Now it's time to kind of either put it back in general funds or edit wherever it came from. So we're doing the research now so that we can correct those items. We will come before you with a request to close out bank accounts, just two, and then also closing some funds. I opened the Pantheon account personally myself when I first got here, and it was because there was a lot of controversy and I wanted their money separate. So when that comes back, I will close out the account, but it stays in the same fund. The fund doesn't change, the money doesn't change, just the bank account.
Sure.
It'll just go into my general funds,
Yeah.
Bank One.
Yep.
And that's anything that I do, it'll just go into Bank One.
And how many bank accounts do you currently have?
8. 2 that are exclusively for the cemetery, the other 6 are mine, are the city money.
Yeah. Ran through that almost. So, okay. And
So-
how many do you need? 4?
Well,
5?
according to State Board of Accounts, 1.
1? Yeah, 1.
Right, although everyone has always done a Bank One and a Bank Two for payroll. But theoretically, really, I could run it all through Bank One because everything runs through the fund. The bank account makes it confusing, because when you've got funds and accounts, you're doing this all the time.
And you're limited. I'm gonna ask a stupid question because I just don't know. You're limited on how much interest you can draw. You can't really draw.
On those other accounts, yes. So if I could keep all the money in general funds, which is where I have the best interest, instead of these other bank accounts that
Yes.
give me nothing. Like the Pantheon, it doesn't really get anything, the bond accounts, although that's statutory, how that's set up. But, yeah, Bank Two, that doesn't really get any interest. I'm looking for ways to make it easier, not harder, and ways for there to be less chance for mistakes. Easier for someone else to kind of come in and see how to do it. And, you know, when they're auditing, makes it super easy for them to find the answers they need.
How often are you reviewing that bank account and the interest you're able to get through that one bank account? Are they offering different rates at different times, or do they come to you and say, this is what it is? Is it
No.
higher today than it was 2 years ago?
It's whatever, when I set up the accounts, it's whatever it is. I generally have not tried to ever move the accounts around. Oh, yeah,
Oh, my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's because we got a lot of money coming from, I don't even know where. It's been coming to us for 30 years, and if I
I'd sit
change
here
the
and think
bank
about that.
account,
When I did work for a bank, we had the Knox County Library, a couple funds of theirs. We were able to switch what funds they were, or what accounts they were.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought their books for the year based on that interest,
wow.
you know, because they were in this account. We moved it to a different type of an account, didn't change the numbers, and the interest rate went away. And that
The
was
only
at a
other
time-
thing
that
I'm
was at a time when
kind of half looking at the bank is that there are a lot of people in the city that have a hard time getting a banking relationship with a bank. Yet, if they are our employees, they could go to First Financial and sort of have a special banking relationship with them because we do
There's
payroll.
a lot of people who can't get bank accounts. 'Cause
There's
banks don't wanna take
we
on
have a
risk.
whole lot of people that cannot get bank accounts, but our policy says you have to have a bank account to work for the city. Well,
Yeah, it's difficult.
you know, we don't wanna
Very-
make it
you'd
too
have to
hard
find
on
a
people.
Small bank like First Vincennes or First Financial, because large
Yes.
banks like Old National, even Old National's big, Regions, Fifth Third, none of those will take them. If you've had lots of charge-offs,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting a bank account,
Yeah,
not even a limited bank account.
absolutely.
You may be able to get a savings account?
You'd be amazed at the amount of
You could
people that
send it
have
into a
Chime
savings.
accounts and PayPal and try to wanna put their payroll in there, and I'm like, no, you can't do that.
You could, some of those would take savings accounts.
Some of them will, and we've had to before.
Yeah, that's
Some
it. They
people,
won't- They're not allowed to have a checking account. They're allowed
yes,
to have a
some
savings.
people,
Yeah.
you know, we just, you know, cause they're trying to make everybody go to less paper. Although, this is a whole lot more paper, I'm just saying. It's a whole lot more paper. And then the only other thing I included on was the bond balances, and this is our most recent bond. And so that's everybody on there. So, and the only reason I was doing all that is because I'm gonna be putting all these balances to forward, on something, some sort of docket in the future, and I'll kind of be sending maybe something by email, so everybody's kind of aware of what I'm doing. But it's something that I have to get going by the end of the year. That's what my corrective action plan says. So, does anybody have any questions about anything? I apologize, I went really quick and I probably went over a whole lot, but,
There's a million questions, but not right now. You know. Can't go through every number here.
But this is really nice to have, especially
It's
mid.
very helpful, by
Yeah,
the way.
very nice.
well, and it's, now you can better understand when you look at the numbers, what all that stuff means, cause, you know, you can write it all the time, but you may not really understand what all those numbers mean and what that means. Like, did anyone know you can't take the 1,000, move it to the 3,000? Sometimes people, they don't know those things. They consider it their budget, we can just move it wherever. Well, usually yes, but sometimes no.
So do you, okay. They don't recommend that
So
you
move
bring,
it from 300 to 100 to 50 cents.
I'm sorry?
To move it from like 300 to 100 to 50 cents.
Well, generally, you wouldn't ever
have to go back to
transfer from the 3,000 to 1,000, but, I mean, all of it goes before council regardless. But you would not transfer between 3,000 and 1,000, because that's kind of payroll. You would pick another 3,000 line. Yeah, you would just pick a different 3,000 line.
they're not, okay, so also they're not requesting that each time you reconcile a bank account, they're not asking you to put that before council so we know that it's been reconciled?
No, I already upload that and all the documentation to Gateway.
So it's
So that is already out there live for the public. All bank accounts, including the water department, they're on there as well.
Yeah.
I
It's on
upload water
Gateway,
department,
and
yes,
And it shows that it's balanced and it's
Correct.
reconciled each month,
correct.
or within a 30 days.
We have, I think we have 20 days. It's supposed, each bank account is supposed to be balanced by the 20th of the month and uploaded. So when we upload, we have, a couple different things we do. This is kind of, this is my bank two and all my documentation that goes with bank two. So it'll have everything from ADP. But the one thing you'll see on here is that there's me signing that I balanced it. Then there's Paula signing that she updated it and scanned it, and then the other person that signs is Sharisa. Sharisa signs because she's the one person that doesn't actually touch the money
Okay,
and,
sure.
or do deposits.
Okay.
So you need somebody that doesn't touch the money and the deposits to verify. Because if I really, you know, theoretically, if I.
Theoretically, that's
I-
what could happen, and that's what does
Absolutely.
happen.
And that's why you have this additional layer of dual control. So if you ever come in, you wonder why Sharisa never helps you with anything, it's because that's not her job. Her job is personnel and payroll. Her job is not bank accounts and funds and anything. She knows how it works, cause she audits this. But she is
She
not the
can't
one
have a
that
hand
touches,
on it.
she does not touch the financials, except to pay bills for HR payroll expenses. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Very
Anybody else? Mayor?
Just got a couple things for you.
Okay.
The recycling from US trash. And I've been saying for years,
So we have the report from Reedy, right?
and that's
All right,
a couple years ago.
so I think it's time to move forward on that.
county's gonna give us our share. But the county, because they've got a wheel tax, will get the additional lane mileage money that's gonna be available. We won't because we don't have a wheel tax. So all it is a formality. We
Yeah.
pass the wheel tax for the same damn amount of money. Nobody pays any more or any less. We just get more.
Yep.
And then the first MUST meeting is September 4th at 10 a.m.
Got that email today.
Yes. I had Sam invite everybody and then forward copy you guys and first one is
Unless on the,
income tax.
yeah. Which that's headed up by the county council.
Yes.
And this is just to make recommendations and kind of.
Yeah, to
put
see
on-
where
yeah.
everybody's at because we need to be for a countywide income tax to make us whole.
Yes, which, that's what changed from it was gonna go into effect 28. It's been pushed back now to 29.
Had to pass it.
Yeah.
And that's why we can do less on water and sewer increase because that money won't be needed to. But it's, the county doesn't understand what's going on. And the reason I say that's because they appointed my brother. So I called him today and said, hey, they appointed me. Let's get these meetings started. So I'm like, I said, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what we're supposed to do. I don't know. I don't doubt it.
Just tell them to call Reedy.
Huh? I said, this is what I'm doing, setting this meeting up. And I'm inviting all the clerk treasurers and the auditor and the treasurer from the county. And I'm inviting Reedy, and I suggest you invite your financial person,
This is Kirk Coonrod still, isn't it?
which I don't have a contact. So you invite him.
Is
And
it
my
Rager?
guess is-
It's Rager.
My guess is.
Kirk
he doesn't
Coonrod and
know
Rager were
what's
together
going on.
forever, weren't they? And they just got rid of the other, the one.
But if they don't agree to a countywide tax, that's when we're gonna have our own, the county's gonna have their own, and the city taxpayers will pay both. And that's when we will put funding in this,
Yes.
because we're paying the county tax anyways.
Yep. I agree with that.
But all this has to be finalized by October 1st. And given to the state, try to figure out what counties and cities are put together. Right? So, it'll be interesting.
Okay. Well, I got a question. Am I the only one getting park calls?
Hard
Park,
for.
racing, hood surfing?
I see it,
Any of that.
I see it.
Okay.
I don't get calls, but I'm out there
Happens
playing
all the
pickleball,
time.
I see it.
Why can we not,
I see it too.
we have cameras out there. Why can we not,
We've caught people with cameras.
I see him cutting through the yard. I see him doing all the time.
yeah. I have one person that's calling me
So-
every day.
The trash is disgusting every morning. They're between the pickleball courts and the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
The amount of trash that they have to pick up is ridiculous.
I asked JR, I said, what can we do different? And, you know, at first it was close the parks down at 9 o'clock. But if we've already got cameras out there, why can we not prosecute some of these people for doing donuts in the grass? And he said that he can't get license plates off of them. Is that what you're
And he's
seeing,
putting
chief?
in-
You need
He's
better
putting in
cameras.
better cameras.
He is putting in better cameras? Did not say that.
So we just got a bid from ICOM to put in better cameras.
Okay. Are we able to do that? Is it reasonable bid? I mean, are they expensive?
So that's who we use for
there any way to do that? Cause they're flying. I mean, it's not just, when you see them, we're walking our dogs and they're doing 35, 40 mile an hour down that stretch from the shelter house to the pool right now.
Are these cameras good enough to where
And
if
that's
we
where
see
it's dangerous.
who's dumping trash out, that we could give them a litter fine? And can you legally do that, chief? I mean, can you go review a camera footage and see this person dump this trash,